with a Jap immersed in a portable computer on his right. Across the gangway, next to the window, sat the young man in the pinstripe suit. He was even paler now, and looking distinctly put out. "Good morning, Lord Baddingham," said a stewardess, handing Tony that day's newly flown-in copy of the Wall Street Journal. "Engineering fault sorted out?" asked Tony, as the engine started revving up. Not quite meeting his eyes, the girl nodded brightly. Then, looking out of the window, she seemed to relax as a black car raced across the tarmac. Next, there was a commotion, as a light, flat, familiar drawl could be heard down the gangway. "Frightfully sorry to hold you all up. Traffic was diabolical." All the stewardesses seemed to converge on the new arrival, fighting to carry his newspaper and put his hand luggage up in the locker. "Won't you be needing your briefcase, Minister?" asked a male steward, shimmying down the gangway. Rupert Campbell-Black shook his head. "No thanks, sweetheart." "Have a nice ziz, then," said the male steward, going crimson with pleasure at the endearment. As the doors slammed shut, Rupert collapsed into the seat across the gangway from Tony. Wearing a crumpled cream suit, a blue-striped shirt, dark glasses, and with 1/8 of an inch of stubble on his chin, he looked more like a rock star than one of Her Majesty's ministers. "Terribly sorry, Gerald," he murmured to the pale young man in the pinstripe suit. "There was a terrible pile-up on the M4. Smiling thinly, Gerald removed a blonde hair from Rupert's lapel. "I really must buy you an alarm clock for Christmas, Minister. If you'd missed that lunchtime speech, we'd have been in real shtuck. Good of them to hold the plane." "Thank Christ they did." Looking round, Rupert saw Tony Baddingham and grinned. "Why, it's the big Baddingham wolf." "Cutting it a bit fine, aren't you?" said Tony disapprovingly. Both men required each other's goodwill. Rupert, as an MP within Tony's television company's territory, needed the coverage, whereas Tony needed Rupert's recommendation to the government that he was running a respectable company. But it didn't make either like the other any better. "Bloody good results you had this morning," said Rupert, fastening his seatbelt. "I'd better buy some Corinium shares." Slightly mollified, Tony congratulated Rupert on his recent appointment as Tory Minister for Sport. Rupert shrugged. "The PM's shit-scared about football hooliganism. Seems to think I can come up with some magic formula." "Setting a yobbo to catch a yobbo, perhaps," said Tony nastily, then regretted it. "I was at Thames Television yesterday," said Rupert icily, as the plane taxied towards the runway. "After the programme, I had a drink with the Home Secretary and the chairman of the IBA. They were both saying that you'd better watch out. If you don't spend a bit more of that bloody fortune you're coining from advertising on making some decent programmes, you're going to lose your franchise." As Rupert leant forward, so Tony could hear him over the engines, Tony caught a whiff of the scent the girl had been wearing in the post-house foyer earlier. "And you ought to spend some time in the area. How the hell can you run a television company in the Cotswolds if you spend all your time in London, hawking your ass round the advertising companies?" "The shareholders wouldn't be very pleased if I didn't," said Tony, thoroughly nettled. "Look at our results." Rupert shrugged again. "You're also supposed to make good programmes. As your local MP, I'm just passing on what's being said." "As one of your more influential constituents," said Tony furiously, "I don't think you should be checking into the post house with bimbos half your age." Rupert laughed.